Good evening. Welcome to the discussion on biomass conversion and biorefinery course. Today we'll cover the discussion solve problem from week 8 content and that is a biochar and bio oil, and then we will move to the discussion of week 9 content, which is based on bioethanol and biobutanol. Okay, so till now no one is joined, but we will wait for some time if someone will join. So we'll wait for 1 minute at least. Then if no one will join, then also we'll start discussing. I think we can start. I want to share my screen. Okay. So my screen is visible. Okay. I will open the presentation. Okay. So so week 8 is all about biochar and bio oil, and week 9 is bioethanol and biobutanol. So this is based on the fermentation process. So fermentation is the route which we are using in the week 9 content. And the biochar and bio oil we already seen through, so we will not go to the much more detail, but we'll take the glance of the important points from where the questions were taken, and I will show you where no, from where the answer is there for every question. And other than that, he is our professor who is in charge of this course, Professor Kaustubha Mohanty. He is a professor from IIT Guwahati. And I again want to give my introduction as someone wanted to reach me out. So my name is Bhavik Kumar Mahant. I am a PhD student in Chemical Engineering Department in IIT Madras. So this is my mail ID and mobile number, which you can use for any kind of discussion related to this course, and you can reach out to me of any of this both medium, and this is my WhatsApp number also. Okay, so let's jump into the main discussion today. So first I will start with the problem solution from the week 8. Yeah, last week we discussed the main points of the week 8. That is basically of biochar and bio oil. So we have gone through the details that biochar is mainly the thermochemical conversion process. So mainly it consists of pyrolysis, and that pyrolysis including with the gasification or no, without gasification, and then with a different kind of rate of pyrolysis, either slow, fast, and torrefaction or gasification. So it depends on the various process parameters also. So this process inversely change the physical state and chemical composition of the biomass into the biochar. Okay, someone is there. Okay, so we are starting the discussion of solution of week 8 problem, and then we'll go through the week 9. So bio and biochar. So last time we already discussed, so now this time we just focus into the assignment questions. So as we discussed, this biochar mainly is formed by using the thermochemical conversion process. In that also, the major process is the pyrolysis or gasification. So if we talk about the different types of biochar production method, then it mainly consists of the fast pyrolysis, how much time you are providing. And if you are going for the fast pyrolysis, you are certainly get bio oil fraction with it. Then the slow pyrolysis, and these are the temperature and pressure condition, and you can use a different kind of biomass according to your process. Then in the slow pyrolysis, mainly we are not providing oxygen when we are going for the pyrolysis, so it is anaerobic. Without the presence of gas or air, we are proceeding with the process. Then gasification at high temperature when oxygen is also present, when mainly it comes from the municipal solid waste and the kitchen waste, and you will get the biochar and combustible ether methane. And then another process is the carbonization. It will take much more time. You will provide the constant temperature and pressure for a lot of amount of time for lignocellulosic and animal manure, and you will get biochar. So as we discussed last time, that biochar, if production process requires some small steps, like started with drying. After drying, we have biomass drying and then after that biomass conditioning. You provide some higher temperature, and then it will be useful to preheat the biomass for and getting the right amount of temperature where the reactions will start. So then it will go for the torrefaction or gasification state, where we are providing the heat, and you will get a various kind of someone is there, I think. Okay, so you will get the various products out of it. Then exothermic pyrolysis and endothermic pyrolysis depending about your temperature range. If you are working under the 250 to 400 degrees centigrade, then the heat will generate it, and it will comes under the exothermic pyrolysis, and at the end endothermic when you provide the heat. So now we are we are just go through the solution of week 8, and then we will go move to the week 9 discussion. So this we already discussed last time. Say this biochar production consists mainly 3 steps. The first step is to drying of biomass, and that's in that process we are focusing to removal of moisture, or we convert the directly into the dry fuel, or with some moisture which will we can directly go for the full drying, which is full scale drying, when you will get only the biochar, while if you focusing the bio oil, then some amount of moisture will also there, and whatever we remove the moisture, it will be again used in the primary pyrolysis process, where you will get water, tar, permanent gas and charcoal, and then we go for the secondary pyrolysis process, where various processes are taking place simultaneously, which consists cracking, oxidation, dehydration, polymerization, gasification, reforming, and the major is the water gas shift reaction, and at the end you will get the various products out of it. So water is always your byproduct, tar is there, and whatever biochar is there. If you go for the bio oil, then you have to go for the pyrolysis, which is time is very less, which is fast pyrolysis. Now there was a question from the factors affecting biochemical properties. So in biochar, as we know, if you just focus about the chemical properties, then atomic ratios, obviously it will be useful when which kind of functional groups are there in our raw material. Elemental composition, sometimes sulfur, phosphorus, different kind of elements are still there, and some functional groups containing oxygen, hydrogen are there or not. Then energy content, how much energy is there in our biochar, which we can use. So biochar is generally we can use for the energy source. So how much energy content is there, it depends on which kind of heat treatment we provided. So it is a significant increase in energy content takes place when we provide a temperature of 250 350 degrees centigrade. Within this range of only 100 degrees centigrade, the value raised from less than 20 megajoules to 25 to 30. And there was a question on this fixed carbon. So what was the question? The fixed carbon content of raw biomass is generally in the range of, it's direct question. So it mainly we are focusing on the fixed carbon, which will give us the energy. Other than that, volatile matters are always there. So it is mentioned in this content that fixed carbon of raw biomass is in the range of 10 to 30%, undergoes no significant change before the torrefaction range. So there at the end, our main aim is to increase this fixed carbon range up to the 95 to 98%, and that will be the case where we use this biomass and convert it into the proper biochar, and then we have the various application out of it. So answer is 10 to 30% for this question. Then another 2 factors are the functionality. Obviously that depends on the functional groups present in the biochar. It will be gone through it have gone through the some kind of reactions simultaneously, and at the end you will get some product which has the different functional group which than the previous one. So our main aim is to remove many kind of functional groups by oxidizing it, and by that process we'll get the oxygen and hydrogen at the product, and we have to maintain that low hydrogen to carbon ratio is there. So as you can see, any kind of biomass has a CH2 range. So if we lower down the hydrogen content, then eventually carbon content will increase and our biochar will be much more purer form of carbon, and it has as content in other compositions are there. So that will be remain, or it will be stay there before and after the processing. So our main aim is to, we have to convert it into the form that it has very less S content. So why? Because high S content may inhibit the industrial applications, and it will increase the energy losses also. Now the same physical properties are also there. We just go through. We'll not go into the much more detail. We already have gone through. So in the last lecture, so what are the physical properties we need to take care of? One is the density and porosity, because according to your density and porosity, your biochar will be useful into the adsorption process or different kind of processes. So our bulk density is the major concern. So when you provide the drying, the bulk density will be so we have to reduce the bulk density in order to increase the content of carbon in the particular. If we increase the bulk, so if we increase the bulk density, the carbonization and application point of view, we are increase the carbon content role. So mainly in the during the drying stage, bulk density will reduce 700 to 400. And surface area, if we talk about surface area, we have to make sure that after the carbonization process, porosity changes, and at the end our surface area will be increased. So if our biochar has a larger surface area, there were very different applications are there, so that will be useful for it. Now reactors for the biochar productions, there we have gone through it. Gasifier are the one of the reactors. So mainly we'll not go through the theory part of it, but gasification one is there. So now we are just go through the solution of wicket content, and then we'll move to the week 9. So we have last we have gone through the biochar production process. Mainly it consists gasification and pyrolysis. So the reactor they are such that which we can go through, this pyrolytic gasification process. So it starts from the drying, and the second step is the pyrolysis. We will get the charcoal and tar, and then it will eventually go to the third step, which is the combustion, and you will get the water vapor and carbon dioxide at the end, and at the end you will go for the reduction. Whatever the H2 and CO2 is there, it will converted your final product. It will go to the water gas shift reaction. CO2 and H2 is converted into H2 and CO, and you will get the charcoal. This is the overall process, and this is how this pyrolytic gasifier looks like. It's if you go for the conventional way, then it has air inlet, so providing the for maintaining the temperature in the presence of oxygen and air, and you will get the S down, and after combustion you will get the product from it. So there was a question that which reactor configuration is preferred in the biochar production. So there are differently 4 options were given, but if you gone through this, then auger reactor is only used for the biochar. Other reactors are used for the bio oil productions. So these 3 are for the bio oil, and auger is for the biochar. So answer is the auger or auger. So auger reactor, it mainly consists the screw where your biomass is feeding, and then by using this, by maintaining the speed of this screw, it will go into the pyrolysis process. Generally it will be slow or fast depending on your product, and whatever the gas will be getting out, it will be go to the heat exchanger, and you will get the liquid fractions out of it, and whatever solid fraction of biochar you will get at the end of the screw. So it's also mentioned in the statement that auger pyrolysis reactors are getting increased attention from many small and mid-sized industries because they are very much techno-economically superior than the other different kind of reactors. Now we are just shift to the bio oil because some questions are from the bio oil section. So as we discussed, if you want to produce the bio oil along with the biochar, then you have to go for the pyrolysis, that too fast pyrolysis. Then within a 5 seconds, if you are providing the residence time up to the 5 seconds, then your biomass is very less. It's there in that whole pyrolysis setup for very less time, and the temperature is kept below 400 degrees centigrade. Then you will get liquid which is in the color of dark brown, and which has a heating below about half of that of the conventional fuel oil. So this you will get the biofuel, and you will get the heating value which is half than the conventional fuel oil, but you can use into the applications related to the fuel oil. So here the main important parameters are the residence time and the temperature control. So if you want to maximize the organic liquid, then you have to play with these two important factors. Now for the bioproductions, if we are providing the very high heating and heat transfer rate, we have to provide it. So that's why control of temperature is much more important, and we have to make sure that the temperature is not increased due to the water vapor or different kind of vapor generated out of it. So if it will be stay there for a more amount of time, then they increase the temperature. So the main aim is the residence time should be the lower than the 2 seconds. So rapid cooling of pyrolysis vapor, it will be required, so that vapor will be converted into the bio oil and in the heat exchanger. So main product is the bio oil, which is a miscible mixture of polar organics, because it consists the carbohydrates, so it will be converted into the carbon and hydrogen is there, so it will be definitely organic in the nature. And longer residence, if you are providing, what if someone asks what if the residence time will be longer. So if residence times will be longer, then secondary cracking will be taken place, then it will be reducing the bio oil yield, and whatever the amount of liquid is there, it will convert into another products. So already you have bio oil, which is as a primary products of your reaction, it will be converted into the different products for longer if you provide the longer residence times. Now what are the factors affecting the bio oil production? So there was a question. So there are many factors, but there is one important factor, which is a heat supply. So how, as we discussed that temperature maintenance is much more important. So what is how you maintain the heat supply? So if you provide a high heat transfer rate, that is actually necessary for maximizing the yield of bio oil, then it will heat the particles sufficiently quickly. So your heat rate will be high, so it will biomass particle will be sufficiently heated, and it will be converted into the products. So it will achieve by using the high heat fluxes, and that for matching the high heat fluxes, we have to provide a high heating rates, and because all the endothermic reactions need to be taken care of. So pyrolysis is generally we have to provide the heat, that's why it is in the form of endothermic reactions. The two dominant modes of the heat transport in this fast pyrolysis technology are conductive and convective. So we have to rely on conductive and convective. So mainly three mode of heat transport is there. Another is by using the radiation, but mainly here we are relying on the conductive. The solid parts are there, and then the liquid parts are there. So convection and conduction are very easily taken place. So that's why the answer is dominant mode of the heat transfer are conduction as well as convection, or conductive and convective. Now questions also ask from the rate of cooling. Now we just discuss about the heat supply and high heat transfer rate, which needs to be higher. Now as soon as the vapor is generated, if you want to convert it into the bio oil as soon as possible, whether maximizing the yield of bio oil, if you are not cooling it in the proper time, or it will convert into the another products which will be not useful as much as bio oil. So that's why slow cooling if you are provided, and the preferential correction of lignite derivative component, which results in a viscous liquid. So depending on the not much slow and not much fast, you have to providing the slow cooling, but in that also whatever the lignin compound is there in a biomass, which will be converted into the viscous liquid, and it can also lead to the blockage of the heat exchange equipment and liquid fractionation. So that will be lower down your yield as well as the malfunction in your application in your equipment. So you have to provide a sufficient amount of rate of cooling If it is too much slow, then you can understand lignin will convert into very viscous oil, and then transfer line and all equipment will be broke. So very rapid cooling if you provide, then it will be suggested that it is as much effective as occurs typically in direct number of quench. So we have to provide the sudden quenching, and you will get the maximized amount of bio-oil. So question was, the slow cooling of the volatile compound enhances the collection of which type of compounds in the bio-oil. So as you can see that it's very viscous compound which comes basically from the lignin part of the biomass. That other if you talk of cellulose and hemicellulose, that will be not it's that much important, but here lignin will convert into the viscous liquid, and that will be give us the challenges. So answer is the lignin derived compound. There is a lipid also. You might consider by mistakenly don't consider lipid, because lipid is totally different. It will come from the vegetable oils. Now we have gone through the bioproduction. Some reactor setups are there, which is different from the biochar production. Basically, fluidized bed reactor is there. You are providing the biomass from here, and you are providing the air or gas which is you are using in this whole process. So whatever you are getting at the end of the final product of gas, that also you can final byproduct of gas, that you can also recycle, and that will be fluidized it whole bed of the biomass, and then it will go into the it is also this fluidized bed reactor is also known as a pyrolyzer. And you are using for maintaining the temperature, achieving the temperature, you will use the hot sand. Then for removing it, we'll go to the cyclone separator, from which the solid part will be removed, and whatever the gas part is there, it will be go into the, or vapor part is there, it will go to the quenching operation, or it basically you are suddenly reducing the temperature by reducing the pressure, and from this you will get the bio oil. And the if you want to increase the yield, then the second step you go for the electrostatic precipitator, and then our overall bio oil production will increase, and whatever the left is only the gas, which you can recycle back to for providing the fluidization in this reactor. Another was the rotating cone reactor, as we have gone through. In that the same thing of sand and char, biomass will be fed and hot sand will be fed for maintaining the temperature. In that reactor, then you will get the sand and charcoal. By using the air, you will go for the char combustion process, and from that flue gases and ash will be lowered down, and whatever the vapor generated from this reactor, it will go to like quenching or absorption kind of condenser, or some unit operation where you have to cooling it down. So that's why it can also known as a condenser, or you can go for the quenching unit, where you just suddenly reduce the pressure, it will reduce the temperature. Then you will get separated out the gas and bio oil. So this is how this whole rotating cone reactor looks like, and it will be rotated, and it will be mixed properly. Now there is another is ablative reactor. There was a question from this. So what is a, so that's why we go through three reactor, and the question of biochar was there when which we select the auger reactor. So you can see for bio oil, these three other options are used for the bio oil. So ablative pyrolysis is different in concept compared to other methods. Here reactor is there, so it is not exactly the fast pyrolysis. It's in here rate of heat transfer to the biomass particle, which is different than the other processes. So it's here you are melting the butter in the frying pan. It is mentioned over there. So whatever the product is there, it has a lignocellulose is there. So you are melting it in your reactor. You are coming from before the drying, and from it will pass to the whatever the vapor product you are getting. You have to go to the separation. Out of it, you are getting the biochar. Whatever the oil is there, it will go to the with vapor, and you put to the condensation module, which will lower down the vapor. So you get the liquid product bio oil, and the gas will be there. You can use for the furnace. And in ablative pyrolysis, heat is transferred from the hot reactor wall to the melt wood that is in contact with under pressure. So question asked was, the pyrolysis front moves in which direction in the ablative reactor? So as the wood is moved away the molten layer, then vaporizes to the product very similar to that derived from the fluid bed system. So the pyrolysis plant thus moves unidirectionally through the biomass particle. So as you can see here, So in the reactor, wait, I think it will be okay. So in the reactor, wood is moved away from the molten part, so it will be obviously go to a vaporization part, and it will go for a fluidized based system. So whatever the wood can be go in the suppose up direction or in the direction of the separate front, then your pyrolysis front will also go into that direction only. So unidirectionally both are moving in the similar biomass particles. So answer is the unidirection through the biomass particle. Now the biochar benefits. So what are the benefits? Basically, if you want to go for the application of biochar, then it has the environmental management like soil improvement. If you use the biochar into the soil, then it enhance the productivity of the agriculture. Waste management. So it can able to for the absorption you can use, and it will be reduce the waste. Climate change mitigations, it can be possibly useful for that, and energy generation. So it can influence the chemical properties of the soil and it will be because of the chemical configuration is there, because we have carbohydrates in the biochar. And it application of alkali biochar, if you have alkali biochar, then significantly raises the sorption or adsorption or absorption, any kind of sorption of phosphorus and other minerals, and decrease the optimability of the adsorbed phosphorus. So whatever the phosphorus is there is still there in the oil soil. So uses of water as a supercritical fluid of hydrothermal processing. Okay, sorry, I think I attached the wrong question here. But the question is, if you use the alkali biochar, significantly what it will do for a phosphorus? So it will significantly increase the absorption of phosphorus. So that was the question. Because maybe you already passed through, go through it. Then there are the questions of the supercritical fluid. I think they are yes. So last by mistakenly this question is go for this slide. So supercritical fluid is the fluid when it will be higher than the critical temperature and pressure. So it is in the both. It has the properties of both gas as well as liquid. So supercritical fluid are mainly used for the extraction processes as well as gasification process and liquefaction process. So mainly we can use the water as also as a supercritical fluid, carbon dioxide also as a supercritical fluid. And supercritical fluids have been recently used to improve oil yield also, and the quality also. Quality improvement is also be taken place. And it is by demonstrating that it can be easily used for the producing the bio oil and bio crude with higher calorific values. So the question asks, uses of water as a supercritical fluid for hydrothermal processing results in what? So water is the cheapest and most commonly used supercritical fluid in the hydrothermal processing, but utilizing water as the solvent for the liquefaction of biomass has the following drawbacks. So water is obviously it's abundant in the world, so it can be used very easily, but it has some drawbacks. So one is the lower yield of water insoluble oil products. So mainly what of the product which you can soluble into the water, you can get that product in the higher amount of yield. The insoluble product will be lower in the yield. Second is that yields bio oil that is a very viscous and very high oxygen content. So what is the property if you get bio oil which is a very high oxygen content? So the answer for here is a lower yields of water insoluble oil product. And the major disadvantages of utilizing water as a solvent for liquefaction of biomass is lower yields of water insoluble oil product, as just we see the similar kind of question. And other than that, it yields bio oil that is very much viscous, as we can see, and very high oxygen content. So these are some of the disadvantages. Then the few characterization techniques we are not going through each and every techniques, but just acid value we are just it is how much fatty acids is there, we are measuring it by some ASTM titration process. Heating value we will go for a calorific value measurement in calorimeter, and it will be useful for our characterization of product. Density is important in order to utilize in specific application. Kinematic viscosity is also important, as viscosity is higher, then it will be chalk in our equipment, and it will be major challenge for the further processing. Oxidation stability is important. Glycerin, what are the triglycerides are there? For that we can go for the GC gas chromatography, and we can get to know. Iodine values are there, so you can get to know from the titration. Moisture content, how much moisture is there. For that we can go for a Karl Fischer titration and metal Toledo kind of instruments. Methyl ester conversion is really important. Cold filter plugging point, flash point, C10 number. We have gone through all these things. That will some of the important characteristics. CHNS, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur. Which it will measure how much amount of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur is present into the fuel. Now, water content determination is one of the fuel characterized techniques, which is can use for the moisture content detection, which is we can use by using the titration process, which developed from the Carl Fisher. Carl Fisher is the person who developed this process, and that will be useful. So, why it is required to check? So, water contamination of biodiesel plays a significant role in the quality control of the feedstock and the end product. So, if our biodiesel consists 1500 ppm or parts per million or 1500 milligram per liter of water in it, then it will be suspended in the water droplets matter, and that will be reduce the efficiency of engine. So then we can use the Carl Fisher titration for measuring out the amount of moisture content in our fuel. So for this we have go for the Bunsen reaction between the iodine and sulfur dioxide. So it will be in this reaction all the moisture or water power is there, it will got consumed and you will get to know what amount of moisture is present. So primary alcohol can be used as the solvent, and we can use the buffering agent as a base. Then alcohol reacts with the sulfur dioxide and base to form an intermediate alkyl sulfide salt, which then oxidized by iodine and to an alkyl sulfide salt. So the question, actually we are not going to the all reaction and all, we have seen in the last lecture. So the question was, the principle of Carl Fisher titration is based on the Bunsen reaction between what and what. So it is between the iodine and sulfur dioxide, it is as mentioned over there. So it is sulfur dioxide as well as oxidized by iodine. In the which kind of medium? It is aqueous medium, because it is using the we are using the buffering agent and solvent both is there. Then the TG and DTA, thermogravimetric and derivative thermogravimetric analysis. So in this what we are going, basically it is a DSC instrument, or we can use this instrument, or TGA DTA instrument, in which we are putting our sample in the closed environment, or it depends if you want to use nitrogen, oxygen, which kind of, or argon, which kind of gas in this particular environment, and then you are providing the heat. Then eventually it will start degrading. First it will solid is converted into the amorphous form, and then it will convert into the liquid, semi-liquid, and then liquid, and then it get degraded. So you will get various peak, and if you just measure the time versus temperature, and you will see that what amount of heat got generated during this process. So, and this is a heat flow, then you will see that some kind of peaks you will get, and this will be give you that which kind of functional groups are there. So when this final product will be this fuel will be, what is their absorption capacity, and you can also find which kind of elemental carbons contains elements are there, carbon, hydrogen, sulfur is there, and how it get degraded. So what is the final degradation temperature? The question asked is, TGA is applicable for thermal analysis in which changes in physical and chemical properties of materials are measured as a function of increasing temperature, as I told you. So with time the temperature is increasing from, let's say, from 300 to 30 degree to 900 degrees centigrade. This is the usual range of TGA. So this is the answer, function of decreasing temperature. Pressure we are maintaining constant, and pressure is not to work do anything we have with this process. It's a thermogravimetric analysis. Another is I just listed out the characterization. If you want to know the characterization of biochar, then there are chemical characterization and physical characterization. If you talk about the chemical characterization, then you can go through the pH measurement, elemental analysis, BET, which will give you the surface area for your fuel. Then the titration, Boehm titration will provide you the functionality. Then for FTIR, which is a Fourier transformation infrared spectroscopy, it will give you the functional group. It will like a functional group like SO2 is there, suppose OH is connected or not, means OH will give you the moisture also by using this, but it will thus give you the qualitative analysis that this is there, but not how much quantity is there. C is eco efficiency characteristic is provided. Gas chromatography GC is there, will give you the which kind of gases are there. Zeta potential, which will provide that whatever the fuel is there, either it is make the colloids or not. If it is make the colloids are in the nature of particle size, you will get the particle size out of it, and at the same time you will get potential charge of this fuel when we convert it into the colloids, either negative, neutral or positive. NMR is the very robust nuclear magnetic resonance, will be give you the functional groups in much more detail. If you go for the physical characterization, then scanning electron microscope, tunneling electron microscope will give you how your product looks like physically inside out. Particle size distribution, how much your particle size of your final biochar. X-ray absorption will give you the which kind of structure is there in your charcoal. Moisture content, Carl Fisher. S content will be important to know. Bulk density, S content will be provided by the proximate and ultimate analysis. Bulk density is where the density measurement process. Pore volume is for the from the you can get it from the BET also, or you can get it by using the mercury pore volume measurement technique is there. So characterization of biochar, the similar kind of data is given over here. Now it's all about the week 8 discussion, and we have gone through the problems and from where the solution comes. Now I will touch upon the important, according to me, what are the important section of week 9 discussion. That is all the based on bioethanol and biobutanol. So as we all know that cellulose and hemicellulose are provided is available in our lignocellulosic biomass. So if you are going to the fermentation process, then it's the products are in the range of bioethanol. Are there, you can use it them as a bioethanol. We will get the ethanol in it, and other than that, biobutanol. If your carbon chain is oligomer, which has more carbon, and it will convert into butanol also. Now, so it has somewhat some data of it top corn producing countries, because mostly people are using fermentation process of production of bioethanol by using the corn only, and countries like United States and Brazil are the topmost, which we are producing corn and they are using it to produce the bioethanol. But if we talk about India, we are also producing corn. It's not that much, but yeah, it's significantly higher than the other important nations like Russia, Canada, because Russia is anyway, there is a climatic challenges are there. Even same with Canada also. So, but in the same time, whatever the corn we are producing, we are not using to form it a bioethanol. As in our India, we have policies are there. Whatever the grains which we are using in the food items, so we are not using it directly into the biofuel production right now. But currently government are giving some ease into it, and hope so we are use some barren land or other lands where we just produce this kind of agriculture products which can use for the different kind of fuel generation, and that too in the renewable form. Now as you can see that the major part of the top corn producing is from the US only. So you can see 58% of 58% of the corn will be produced by the US. I'll just come into 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes. Okay. So we are discussing about corn producing countries. As you can see, the major chunk of corn will come from the USA, and that from that also, if you can see that food beverage waste, if you use this for the biomethane generation, then out of 58%, some 95% come from the cornstarch, which is come from the agriculture. Other 3% wheat on other crops, and cellulosic biomass. Yeah, it's a bioethanol for the cellulosic bio. Okay, so this is not only corn, this is the bioethanol production, and you will get the different where this bioethanol comes. But major part is all the corn starch only, and other is the food beverages and all. If you talk about Brazil, then it's around 27%. Bioethanol production is the European Union, China, and rest are the. Even India has just started, but it's very limited amount of bioethanol, and we are very technology is under development, and maybe hope so in future we will take the lead. So this is a similar data which professors showed that production of the worldwide is 969. If you talk about the India, then it's only 22, which was the 2015-16. If you talk about the 17 and 18, then it was projected because there was no data available after that. Then it's 1,000, around 1,000 million metric tons is for the world, while India will be just it's on and around 25 metric ton only. If you talk about the yield, then uh, so this is a production or total production. What is the amount of that corn you are yielding in the particular this much amount of production? So highest is in the US only, followed by Argentina and Brazil, Argentina, European Union, and Brazil. Now we start with the pre-treatment. So this is the process. Now we already gone through so many chapters where we have discussed about all this thing, bioethanol production, and which kind of carbohydrates are there, which like cellulose, hemicellulose, as well as lignin and all. And we have gone through the pre-treatments also further in general way. Now what we are focusing, now we are going for the important pretreatment for our biomass characteristic which will be used in our process. So in this process we are focusing on mainly the generation of bioethanol, and another is the biobutanol. So for that we'll again go through some slides are, I think that's why I also omitted that slides. So this is a similar slides which we already gone through. So what are the pre-treatment of biomass? So if you talk about the commercially well established large scale biotechnology process which you are using for the bioethanol production, there are some steps are there. The first step is the starchy feedstock whatever you have. So you have to convert it into the fermentable sugars. So fermentable sugars you can do it by the hydrolysis. There is one process we can use for the hydrolysis, which is also known as the liquefaction. And in the other than that you can use the enzyme and then enzyme will convert that whatever the biomass there into the sugar or fermentable sugars. So it is known as the enzyme based biosaccharification. Other than that, if you go for the mechanical operation like milling, and milling will be convert the whole biomass into the smaller section. Now the second one is the fermentation. So first step is the converting the biomass into the fermentable sugar. So biomass to fermentable sugar. I am just using this kind of words, so don't take it seriously. I am just noting it out. The second is the fermentation. Okay, so second is the fermentation, where the yeast we are using a yeast which basically convert these sugars into the ethanol, and then finally we go for the purification stage. So whatever the ethanol which we are already getting, it will be separated out from this byproduct and impurities by distillation process, or majorly worldwide people or companies and technology got developed in and around distillation, because distillation is much more obvious as well as frequent solution for separating of liquid product easily. So but it's not up to only the distillation. Nowadays membrane based separation is under the research and development, and hope so in future we'll go to the many more other options in this membrane based separation processes. Now this is the whole process of bioethanol production. As you can see, fuel ethanol production. So first of all, we are starting with the grain storage. Whatever the grain is there, we are just talking of mainly of the agriculture and lignocellulosic biomass. So first we are doing for the if we talk about, if we don't want to go for the hydrolysis, then the easy option for converting into the sugar is the milling. So if you provide the mechanical operation over here, you mill it, and then it will convert into the meal in the sugars. Then you go for the cooking is at temperature. You are providing the temperature without the presence of air, and then it will be for the sufficient amount of time you are put it into the cooking form, and then you will go for the liquefaction. Or liquefaction is not first is coming. Milling is crushing. It's crushing your biomass into a small part, then you cook for some days, and then if you go for the liquefaction, the liquefaction will the yield of liquefaction will enhance by this step process. And then the liquefaction, whatever the sugars you are getting after the liquefaction, it will go into the fermentation process. The fermentation is the second step, where we are converting the sugar into the ethanol, and then whatever the ethanol you are get, some amount of impurities are there, unreacted amount of much amount of unreacted part is there. Then you go for the distillation. It's look like a simple distillation, but it is a multi-scale atmospheric and vacuum kind of distillation which we are using for separating them out, because there are chances of taking the azeotrope as its liquid water is there and ethanol is there. The water and ethanol is certainly make the azeotropic mixture that is easily, it is not easy to remove, separate it out easily. So that is very difficult for them to separate it out easily. So whatever the fuel ethanol we are getting after distillation, which we go store, and then we can go for the fuel market. If whatever the remaining solids which are here, which is waste material or which is impurities or everything, that will be go for the dry, and then the dry distillers grain, then will go for the feed market of what? Feed market of cattle mainly. Now if we see that the first operation is milling for crushing it down. So milling is the very first operation in this biotechnical process, but how the milling will be done, it will be this will be decided that how much your purity or how much your characteristics of bioethanol you will get at the end of the process. So after the milling, the grain is milled, this step is categorized to different matter. One is a wet milling and another is a dry milling. So what are those things? So we'll not go through the much detail, but I will just summarize this wet milling and dry milling here. So dry milling is a corn. First we start with the corn flour production and mash formation, in which corn kernel is first you mill into the flour without separating that individual nutritional component, and then mix with water to form a mess. So here you are directly converted corn flour into the final crush into the another product powder, and then you mix with the water. So water it will convert into mess or slurry. Then you are going for the saccharification process, where you are putting some microorganisms into it in the presence of enzymes. Generally these enzymes are the thermophilic enzymes, so they can be work or operate at a high temperature around 65 degrees centigrade, and then we convert amylases into the starch, such as what is the thermophilic enzymes. So example, if you want, then amylases is the one which convert the starch into sugar. So what these enzymes do, whatever the biomass which has starch, they convert the starch into the final sugar. And then you go for the fermentation. Then we are using the yeast, and then yeast as a microorganism, fungi, and converted this sugar into the ethanol from beer. So this is a dry milling process. If you go to the wet milling process, then wet milling process, before crushing or milling, you are going for the steeping process. In steeping, what are the corn kernel you have first soak into the soak into the water. So it will help that to separate some nutritional component fibers out of it. Then after that you will go for the grinding. Here you are not separating the individual nutritional component, but here you are separating. That is a major difference. Other things are more or less similar only. Then you are going for the grinding and separation. Then you are going to post steeping. You separate it out from the rest, whatever the corn kernel is there, and then which mainly it contains fiber, gluten compound, and starch compound. After that you remove separate the starch compound from the gluten and fiber component, and whatever the gluten and fiber component say you can use for the cattle feed, because it contains mainly protein into it. and fibers are already always good for the cattle health. Then whatever the starch couple you have, you will go for the fermentation process, and afterwards both the process will be follow the similar way. So in the fermentation is again we are using the yeast which will convert the sugar into the beer. Then beer is like here we are not using it as beverages or alcoholic beverages. Whatever the beer is there, we are focusing into converting into the bioethanol. So then we go for the distillation or with beer or bioethanol, we convert it into ethanol is distilled out from the beer, blended and supplied to the market, and leftover is called the steerage. Then whatever the leftover is there, the production of distillers dried grains with soluble from stillage to for animal feed generation. So whatever stillage is there, it's again centrifuge, very high speed, and then you will remove the liquid out of it. Now whatever solid you will get, you will use it for the cattle weight, cattle product. Cattle feed, or you can separate out the condensed liquid portion and again go for the animal feed. Same maize kernels are there. If you go for the weight milling process, then you go for the steeping, mill, wash, again mill and wash and again mill. So this is kind of sequential process you are doing. In between the cyclone separators are there for removing out of the liquid and solid out of it. Then if you talk about the dry grinding process, then dry grinding process you filter it first and then you grind it, and grind it, little amount of moisture is there which will convert into mass and mix it, and it convert the slurry tank. It will convert into slurry and fed into the slurry tank, and then you provide the put it into the cooker which will provide a high temperature of greater than 100 degrees centigrade, then the cooking in the tube, and then you go for the next step which is the liquefaction step. There it's slurry and starch and this kind of bioenzymes are there, then it will convert into the products which where you use the yeast out of it and glucomylase out of it, and then you will get the ethanol. There's another process where we use the cold starch hydrolysis process, which is not mentioned in the session, but it is also one kind of way to do this process, where filter grinder and then mixture with H2O is there. Directly you can go for the saccharization process, fermentation take out of after that, and then you will get the ethanol. It's a bioethanol. Now in this pre-treatment we need to understand that what is the nature of lignocellulosic biomass. And as we already have seen in the previous lectures, that cellulose, it consists mainly three. Other than that, but the major part of the compound of biomass consists three parts. One is a cellulose, another is hemicellulose, and third is the lignin. So cellulose are the polymer made out of glucose. So when a long chain of polymer made with glucose is C6H12O6 in the form of this, and glucose will be go into the many more changes and the three-dimensional chains, then it will go convert into cellulose. Now if we talk about the hemicellulose, then it has not only one kind of molecule, but it has different kind of pentose sugars and hexose sugars. Pentose means 5 carbon sugar and hexose means 6 carbon sugar. So they come together in the random fashion, and if you want to see the example of pentose and xylose and arabinose, we talk some example. If you want some example of hexose, then mannose, galactose and glucose, and then you will come into the different chains, and then it will be known as a hemicellulose. If we talk about the third part is the lignin. So in this there is another part which has basically alcohol, but that is a it's not aliphatic alcohol, but it is aromatic alcohol. It's a specific coniferal alcohol, comeral alcohol, pineapple alcohol. This kind of alcohol is there. So we already gone through it. So mainly, if you see the most abundant part, lignocellulose is the 170 million metric tons of production is there. Components of biomass, lignocellulose is the most abundant. So what the different kind of biomass is there? Feedstocks are there, but most important and abundant is the lignocellulose. We have the forest waste, industrial waste, municipal waste, agro waste, any kind of different residue waste also, it will has the lignocellulose in it. If you recall, we have already discussed about the lignocellulose biomass, different types of biomass. We already go through it. Cellulose will be stay around 40 to 60% in the lignocellulose biomass. Hemicellulose is 20 to 40%, and lignin is 10 to 25%. And the different combination of all these three factors are there in different kind of depending on the feedstocks of the biomass. Lignin carbohydrate complex, it is it's also nonsense. It's not known as a lignin carbohydrate complex, which is also called as a LCC. Now, if we talk about the how is the pre-treatment taken place of, then we have the lignocellulosic biomass like this, wood and different kind of things are there. And then first it all this because of this all comes from the plants, then it has a cell wall. So because plant cell has wall, while animal cell wall has doesn't have any wall. So what this cell wall we have to break, and then from this we'll get the cellulose, lignin and hemicellulose, and then we will go for the pre-treatment. In pre-treatment there are mainly 4 ways to provide giving the pre-treatment. That is basically chemical, physical or thermophysical, physiochemical, thermochemical. You can consider the combination of both of these, and biological. This is separate, but if you go for thermophysical and thermochemical, this will be also taken place like this. As you go for physiochemical, the temperature you are definitely providing, and if you go with the thermochemical, then thermophysical thing also provide the temperature. So if you go for the chemical, then chemical reaction is will be provide a pre-treatment by alkaline dilute acid, ionic liquid, organic solvent. If you go for the physical, then for pre-treatment you are using the various physical operation or mechanical operation like milling, extrusion and sonication. Then it comes to the physiochemical process, which will use the plasma, hot water, some kind of temperature, high temperature process, microwave, supercritical process, steam explosion. Then if you go for biological, then you are using the fungi, bacteria, and different kind of microorganism and microbial consortia, or which is a combination of the different kind of microorganism. And out of all this, you by giving the treatment, you will get the products like biofuels, enzymes, pigments, organic acid, nanomaterial, chemical precursors. It's not like that you will only get the bioethanol, but there are lots and lots of products you will get if you, depending on the process condition, depending on your feedstock, and at the end what is your final objective of application of your biofuel. Okay, I just want to think over. Okay, so here you can see 40% cellulose is there. So it has oligosaccharides, and it can contain oligosaccharides and disaccharides. So mostly they consist, they have hexose sugar, so which is a glucose, mannose, galactose and amylose. Sorry, so it will be, this is all not only come from the cellulose, it will also come from the hemicellulose. Whatever hexose sugar is there and hemicellulose, we can separate it out. So pre-treatment is focused on like that. So hemicellulose has a pentose sugar also, that can also be separated out, xylose and arabinose. And then this hexose sugar and pentose sugar will convert into furans. Furans are the furfurar and tetrahydrofurfuran and all. These are the solvents and some important chemicals. And then it can hydrolytically convert into acetic acid, formic acid and levulinic acid, which are the aliphatic carboxylic acid. And these are the very much values in the manufacturing industry. Or you can directly hydrolyze this hemicellulose acetyl group and convert it into the aliphatic carboxylic acid. And then you will also get the aliphatic aldehydes in between. If you are not providing the strong acid oxidation, we using, then you will got if you got the strong oxidation, then you got the acid. Otherwise you will, if you strong weak oxidation, then you get aldehydes. Then you are going to get the uronic acid, which has a different glutaric acid, glucuronic acid. And if you talk about the lignin, then lignin is as a benzoquinones if you just remove it out. Otherwise, if you, it is approximately 28%. And as we saw that lignin has a phenol aromatic compound alcohol. So that's why we have various phenolic compounds in it, non-phenolic aromatic compound and phenolic compound. So for example, benzoic acid, cinnamic acid is also there. But if you talk about the phenolic compound, then it's various phenolic compound which can be processed from it. If you talk about the extractives, 2% and S is less than 1%, so major part is of these three different components. Now lignocellulosic biomass processing. Okay, so first whatever the lignocellulosic biomass is there, after pre-treatment also there are some inhibitions, and it can be convert some inhibitors, which inhibitors in the sense it can convert into some process or some chemicals. It can produce this kind of chemicals which will inhibit the further process of bioethanol production. So that's why we have to take care of this thing. We have to provide the different kind of strategies to remove these inhibitors. So overview of here I put one table that overview of the strategies to circumvent problem with the soluble lignosulfuric and the inhibitors formed during pre-treatment and process. So first strategy is feedstock selection and engineering. So using less recursive and feedstocks generate less inhibitors. So we have to select the feedstock like that. And for this, our final consideration or drawback is there. We have to desirable to us disable to use broad range of feedstocks. So we have to use the long option for short rotation curves dedicated to biorefining to sugar from process. Then we go for the detoxification. It's also one strategy where we are using the chemical additives, where whatever the inhibitors are there. So we are providing some chemical treatments like alkaline treatments, using acid polymers, and also more chemicals we have to use in this. Then in the bioabatement, which is a microbial treatment, and then culturing schemes where you are using the different kind of scheme for the for production of culture, then that culture will be converted into the biomass into biofuel. It will affect the productivity and product yield. So these are the topics you have to calculate the cost of it. Then in the cost will be increased. Selection microorganisms, screening the microbial collection we have to select, and select ought to be made primarily in the basis of specific productivity, evolutionary engineering. So what is the evolution of the final step of the process? We have to take care of it, and then we have to provide the calculation based on the engineering of it, and that will be useful for reducing the inhibition problems. And it will depends on the varies with the feedstock and everything. So it will be much more rigorous process. And genetic metabolic engineering, we are using the engineering of resistance to phenolic ferrifular and carboxylic acid, and we will get the GMM based process is a topic. Now, if we talk about the different kind of ways to generate the bioethanol from the cellulose-based or lignosulfuric-based biomass, and the SHF is there, sometimes in fermentation, where cellulose production is the first step, then cellulose hydrolysis, hexose fermentation, and pentose fermentation is there. SSF is a simultaneously separation and fermentation, where you use cellulose production, then cellulose hydrolysis and hexose fermentation will be done simultaneously. You get the pentose fermentation at the end, the bioethanol. SSCP simultaneously separation and cellulose fermentation, that cellulose production is there. At the same time, we are doing all this thing and this together, and then this merge everything in with. So you are seeing that here also the reflux is there if you want to recycle back your plant. And if you talk about CBB, combined bioprocessing, where you also everything will be together only. So this is a mainly four way. Everything is a separate hydroformation, and then you separate and simultaneously doing two things and simultaneously doing all three things, and combined everything will be combined. So now we are discussing about the enzymes involved in the hydrolysis of biomass. So I just took this slide from the professor that I just want to give you some little bit idea, and it will be helpful for you to solve the questions in the assignments. So what are the enzymes involved in the enzymatic hydrolysis of cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin? So if you talk about the cellulose, oh, what happened? Sorry, I think some. So if you talk about the cellulose, then cellulose has the enzymes like CBHI, cellulose, glucose, and that kind of different enzymes. If you talk about the hemicellulose, then it requires the xylose, degalactose, ester groups, everything are there. So we are using this kind of enzymes. Here it's you can see the enzymes over this. Same if you talk about this lignin peroxide, lignin base. Says that you are getting this kind of enzymes are there. So we will not go into much more detail. Now microorganisms for corn-based vitamin production. So which kind of microorganisms which we are using? So as it is mentioned is there Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Is most widely used commercial fruit and production, which most widely used the yeast, which is the Brewers yeast, which name is S. cerevisiae, or the full name is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. This is most widely used for producing the ethanol from the sugar and starch industry, sugar starch feedstocks. So Saccharomyces cerevisiae has nominated this sector as a biocatalyst for the choice mainly because of the advantage attributes it has acquired during the natural evolution process over the other ethanol producing microorganisms. So if we talk about the other microorganisms, this is a very evolved species. So these microorganisms will be useful for higher yield as well as stable yield. So what are these attributes? It measures extremely high ethanol tolerance, so it can be tolerate high ethanol. So that's why it will be not inhibit the production process. And this is the most important part of the cells. It can grow on the stringent anaerobic condition. Is least affected in the presence of oxygen. Oxygen is least affected. It is present also. Then also it will be not reacted to produce anything else. So these are the important attributes. If you talk about the two important microorganisms which are always talk in this area of ethanol production from the from the corn, then the Biomass mobiles as well as Saccharomyces cerevisiae are there. Mainly we can see that this is how they are reacting. This one will be converted into the keto product, glucose into ketone, and phosphorylation, and then alcohol and ethanol and acetaldehyde with the product. Here it will be converted into fructose, and then the separation, and then this the disintegration of the material product, and you can acetaldehyde as well as ethanol at the end. Yes, sorry, the most common used microorganism for the ethanol is of course yeast. So microorganism is yeast, which we just show the name. Efficiently ferment 6 carbon sugar, but hardly pentosis. Due to pentosis fermentation is very difficult. To lack of enzymes, those to xylulose. The common bacteria species for the vitamin is gram-negative bacteria, which is the Zymomus mobiles. Some anaerobic bacteria such as thermoanaerobacter, ethanolicus, clostridium, which is also important, then thermoaminobacter, matrani, thermoaminobacterium brocti, clostridium, thermosaccharolactium. So these are the other indicated bacteria which are used for diagnosis of ethanol products. Now cellular structure we talk about. Actually we already looked through this all kind of content before in the previous lectures, but this will be useful for your solution of some of the assignment problems. That's why I also include that. Cellular structure is first presented from the French scientist Anselme Payen in 1838. So if you want to see the photo, this is his photo. In 1838, French chemist Anselme Payen discovered the first enzyme, which is a diastase, a starch converting enzyme. So what is the cell? So is a high molecular weight homopolymer. So cellulose is a high molecular homopolymer which consists of D and hydrochlorpyranose in it, which will units join as 1,4 linkages, and that you can there was sometimes it is asked in the assignment question and other members which kind of linkages are there. It's always in one 4 linkages. So it's one. And suppose this is another 6 hexasugar, so it's always 1 with 4, something like that. So cellulobiosis is the repeating ingredient in the long chains that contain 2 glucose rotated by 180 degrees relative to each other, which provides a conformational stability to the cellulose structure. The glucose chains in the cellulose have one reducing and one non-reducing end. So as we already see, one has a OH, and there is a carbon hydrogen only, so it's non-reducing. OH has a reducing aldehyde can get exposed by or reducing has a CHO also, therefore by the hemiacetal bond. So number of glucose molecules which we call as a degree of polymerase in one chain can vary from 100 to 4,000, 10,000 depend. So there is a very wide range of glucose molecules are there in the cellulose. The molecule in the cellulose are connected by numerous interchain and interchain hydrogen bonding. The smallest unit in cellulose structure is considered as elementary fiber, abundant around 30 to 36 cellulose chains bound by the hydrogen bonding. Very elementary fibers are abundant. It's called a microfibril. As we see, this kind of acid is much more detailed in the previous lectures. That's why we are not going to again and again. So how this cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin are combined together. So the important factor is enzymes is accessibility is restricted to the surface molecule which will not go inside. So cellulose bioconversion. So cellulose is a mixture of cellulose if you want to convert into by bioconversion way, then you can use a mixture of enzyme which is also known as a cellulase. So it's a mixture of enzyme, or it is a basically cocktail of enzymes. So synergistically they are working together, and that at least three enzymes are required in typical cellular system for the bioconversion of cellulose into glucose. They include one is endo, one for beta glucanase or carboxymethyl cellulase. Another is exoglucanase or cello biohydrolase CBH, and another third is the beta glucosidase. So gluconases mainly act in the amorphous on the surface glucose chains of the cellulose, and hydrolyze the beta one for linkage in the retromanner. So we will see how it works. Now endogluconase, this is CBH1, this is CBH2, then this is a beta glucosidase. Now you can see how it will be amorphous will be represented. Understand the decrease of a degree of polymerization. Now, if we call about the cellulose system, as you said, it's a cocktail of different kind of microorganisms. Then, if we talk about the exogluconases and cellobiohydrolase 1, cellobiohydrolase 2, major fraction of this kind of characteristics are there. This is excessively and form reducing of the glucose chain and produce the cellulose as a major product. The four surface loops from a tunnel separatic domain with a length of about 20 angstrom was there. So surface loops from a funnel subcategory domain with the length of about 20 angstrom in the cellulose, and then if we go for it is all other exogluconases. If we go for the endogluconases, then there will be 3 endogluconase 1, endogluconase 2, endogluconase 3, endogluconase 4, and endogluconase 5. One is a major fraction among all the other endogluconases, and it is enclosed. It's 5 to 10%, and the glucose 2 is 1 to 10%. If you talk about beta glucosidase, it's approximately 1 to 2%, and then you can use TRC. Now, if we just move away from the cellular system, then simultaneous saccharification and fermentation, there is one kind of process which is known as the SSF process, and then saccharification and fermentation. Here, as you can see in the saccharification and fermentation, both processes doing on to one reactor section only. So whatever raw material is there, it will go for the pre-treatment, then it will go for the cellulose lignin process, and cellulose will be separated out, and it go for the SSF. After PET, you can use for the enzyme production of it. After pre-treatment of the hemicellulose hydrolyzed will be separated out and go enzyme production, and enzymes will be externally produced, or you can use the enzyme production. You can use this enzyme, otherwise you can produce external these enzymes, and you can use for the simultaneous saccharification and fermentation process. And then you can go for the yeast production, and whatever yeast will be good, it will be go for the useful for the fermentation, and then it will eventually go for the separation process, which will generally distress, and then you will get the lignin and ethanol out of it. Now, if you want to see that SSF is if you are using the hydrolysis together, then simultaneous saccharification and hydrolysis fermentation process, then it will be like this: SSCF, the co-fermentation of the exogenous metabolisms are there. So simultaneous saccharification and co-fermentation is co-fermentation is this process. Then CBP is a combined bio processing. As well as then increase the WS content, or simultaneously oxygen content will be increased. So this is two things: simultaneously hydrofaction and simultaneously saccharification and fermentation. Hydrofaction and fermentation. So enzyme is there, juice is there, liquid is there. So it will convert into enzymatic hydrolysis first, and then after hydrolysis you will go for the whatever the glucose index or we get, you will go for the fermentation 65 or you will get a yield of 9.8%. If you go for the SSF, then simultaneous saccharification process where you use this enzyme and you whatever you directly go for the production, and you get saccharification fermentation about 20 to 40 hours, you get the yield 19.1%. Now, main advantages of SSF, which will increase the hydrolysis rate by conversion of sugars that inhibit the cellulase activity, lower enzyme requirement, higher product yields will be the one of the main advantages. Lower requirements for sterile conditions, since glucose is removed immediately and bioethanol is produced. shorter process time. It's because it will not require much more process time. The products will be also higher, and enzyme requirement will be also lower by using this method. And then at the end, whatever the volume is there of reactor, which is also less. So the major advantage of SSF is that the immediate consumption of sugar by the microorganism produces low sugar concentration in the fermenter, which significantly reduces enzyme inhibition. Now I will change it. Yeah. So the biomass will go for the pre-treatment, then enzyme production, hydrolysis, and co-fermentation is there. Then it will go for the eventually after production will biobutyral production is there. Then the recovery process will be there. For recovery, we go for the distillation process or dehydration process, and you will get the bioethanol and distillate with lignin. Lignin material will be removed with the distillate that will be you will get. So similarly, if you want to see the consolidated bioprocessing CBP processes, then biomass production and pretreatment is the same process. When whatever the pretreatment biomass is there, it will go into the whole bioreactor in which that hydrolysis, fermentation, and enzyme production is there. And that after that you will get the ethanol out of it. Bioethanol will be used in the full as a transportation sector. So enzyme producing microbes and ethanol fermenting microbe are the single microbe, which is a cellulosic as well as ethanol fermenting. Now there is one important kind of fermentation which is nowadays which much more well known into the fermentation industry, which is known as acetone, ethanol, and butanol fermentation, where you will get the three different products out at the end of the fermentation and from the lignocellulosic biomass. So generally people are much more weighted for the bioethanol generation. So ethanol is definitely there, but apart from the ethanol you will get the acetone, which is a good solvent and many useful chemical as a raw material in many useful processes, as well as same as the butanol is also there. So what you are doing, first you are going whatever the lignocellulosic biomass is there, you are going for the pre-treatment. So pre-treatment here you can see it, either it's one of it will be enzymatic, alkali, acidic pre-treatment, microwave pre-treatment, ozonolysis, ionic liquid is there, ultrasonic crystallization is there, hydrothermal thermolysis is there, hot water treatment is there, steam explosion treatment is there, ammonium fiber expansion is there, extrusion, milling, and slow organic solver per kind of pre-treatment. Any kind of pre-treatment you can use for this process pre-treatment. So it is much more similar only. But here you can say integrated enzyme production you can take place of SSS CBPs, you can take place side by side, and you can produce process integration, intensification, in situ detoxification. You have to take care of this, and that too what are the strain you are using as enzymes or microorganisms or yeast that you have to develop using co-culturing and adaptive evolution. And for the detoxification, as you can see, the detoxification step is there where you remove out of resin dilution ammonium so we can use this process using resin dilution ammonium electrolysis, solids removal, limiting or limiting limiting and limiting or over limiting actually, or limiting and over limiting. So this kind of process you can use for the detoxification and electrolyte carbon electrolyte charcoal is, or you can use for the biochar, which we already was in the last chapter, which we go for the detoxification also. And here you will get C5 and C6 sugar inhibitors are there. Here also you get cellulose, hemicellulose, and out of it C5 C6 sugars, which will convert the inhibitor will convert into C5 and C6 sugars. Now what are the C5 and C6 sugars or saccharification process? This is all about. Now whatever the sugar is there, it will be converted into the by using fermentation various process. So in this process indication intensification, it's in situ product removal will be taken place from here, and saline bubbles and cell recycle will be taken place. Then strain development, high tolerance to butanol, high butanol selectivity, because butanol is the different molecule and the acid or ethanol, so butanol in the nature and physicochemical properties. So we have to choose the strain, or we have to choose the microorganisms which will be high in the tolerance of the butanol, which can have butanol selectivity, butanol production will be increased, And then for that, process types are the batch process, fed batch process, continuous process, absorb surface fermentation process, and biofilm reactors. And after this fermentation process, C5 and C6 sugars are there, and then you will get bitternol out of it. So bitternol is the major product, and the acetone ethanol eventually you will get. So if you in the same process, if you go for the upstream, mainstream, and downstream process, in the upstream process, waste will be converted into by using a pre-treatment. First step is the pre-treatment. So whatever the pre-treatment is there, after that you will get the impurities out of it. So we have fed this biomass mixture into the separator, and after separator you remove it, the impurities out of it, and at the same time you will get the pure biomass, which we go for the next step. In next step is the detoxification, as we have just seen, and from this we will get the pretreated biomass also. And after detoxification we again go to separator. It will go for the third step, which is reagent recovery. Whatever reagent we are using, which can be get recovered, and whatever the extra product you will get, you can also recycle back and increase the productivity and yield at the end of it. And then eventually whatever the separator product is there, separator product which will go into the enzymatic hydrolysis process into a reactor, and then it will go into the fermentation process step by step. So first we will go for the hydrolysis, which we convert into the biomass into sugar, and then after that the sugar will go convert into the bioethanol or biofuel. That's why it's an AB. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's not only bioethanol; it's acetone, ethanol, and butanol. So it will be go for a AB fermentation. After that, you go for a decanter. So depending on the density, you can remove the materials. So heavy material which will go down, or here you can see the water, aqueous phase and organic phase. So water will go into the dividing wall column kind of setup. And if you just see the upper part, then it will go first part, it will go into the downstream process. In the downstream process, that butanol stripper is there, which will give it the butanol at the end. Now whatever the heavy water section aqueous phase is go, it will go into the dividing wall column, where a prefractionator and dividing wall column. So you will get water out of it, will be again recycled back, and then whatever the remaining part is there, it will go into the acetone ethanol fractionator, and you will get acetone and ethanol at the separate form. So this is like this is the last is the distillation kind of process. Now if you want to see this how this vegetables vegetative cells will be growth and sugar, and what other part of solution are there. So spores are like this. Spore germination will be take place in the generative organic acids, organic acid differential granulose fermentation, stoppage material, vegetative cells growth, cell division. So the spores will be go for the germination, then you will go for the vegetative cells, and then it will go for the organic acid, then differentiation, clostridia. This is whole house cycle. It will be we will get the whole process, and that you again recycle each and every step, and then at the eventually you will get the solvents as a product, which will nothing but the acetone, butanol, and as well as ethanol. And with this, I want to conclude my talk today, as I think no one else is there. I will wait for 5 minutes, and then we can conclude the talk. If someone is there, we can glance through all the slides, and it will be helpful for him. Otherwise, we can stop. Yes, no one is there. So I want to conclude my today's session. So thank you one and all who will watch this video, recorded video, into YouTube. And if you want more discussion, as people are not coming, I used to not bring more content. Otherwise my always my lectures discussion are up to more than 1 hour and 45 minutes. It's almost close to 2 hours, but people are not coming, so eventually I also lower down my content, and it will be not difficult for people who are watching the recorded video to go through it. And I will, although at the same time I will cover the most of the content which has the assignment questions out of it. And with this I want to conclude today's talk, and I'm quoting Chanakya here. So he is the quotation is like, learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live enough, you can't live long enough to make them all by yourselves. So if you want to learn, you don't have to be wait until you will do some mistakes and you will lose learning. That is a good approach of learning, but every time you don't have that much time to tell, you will wait until all the mistakes will taken care with you only. So whatever other people is facing right now, you can consider their mistakes as your learning, and you can go ahead. So with this I am now go through the uh, meeting. So so hope so you have gone through this pre-recorded lecture. So this is a interesting and easy kind of talk, but if you get so many kind of information in it, so which will be useful for you. That's why I didn't bring a lot of information. Professor have provided a very good amount of information, as well as in depth con- uh, in-depth calculation, in-depth understanding of all this purification process also. Not only the distillation, adsorption and absorption, but other than that, various processes which are generally include membrane with it, which is a membrane distillation, normal membrane, and there are various things. This will be eventually helpful for you to understand the various processes. Don't just focus on getting the marks, but you also focus on learning. That will be helpful. If you have any doubt, you can contact me anytime, and have a good luck, all the best, as well as good evening.